Thank you. Thanks for putting this together. I love it when counties try to work together to bring delegates, and so that as candidates we can choose, so thank you so much. I don't say this in Salt Lake County because I don't get the chance, but honestly, Salt Lake, Davis, and Weber are like my second home as far as working with the parties. I really enjoy that opportunity. So I'm Lisa Shepard, I'm your current party secretary. I was elected in 2016 as a replacement candidate, and that was a great experience to be elected by the State Central Committee, and then to be able to get elected by the delegates 2 years ago. So people ask why I'm running again. The reason why is because I believe there's some unfinished business, and we need to bring back together the Republican Party that we had. I've heard the comment, it's a new GOP, it's a new Republican Party. I kept saying, I still want my old one. I really appreciate the traditions that we've had in our party, the rules that we followed, and all of the time and energy that Central Committee members and delegates have put into vetting the rules and making sure that we pass ones that work. So when we don't use those rules, it doesn't make the party flow as easily as we have in the past. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to run again and to be able to help with any one of these new chair candidates. I am thrilled. I mean, there's two, I guess we lost one, and Sylvia. I have a great working relationship and friendship with each of these candidates, and I'm so excited for the future. Honestly, any one of them you pick is going to be a great choice, and so I'm super excited. And yes, as a female working in there, it's been wonderful. I want to tell you that I used to work with James Evans as he was the state party chair, and he was my first state party chair to work with, and I loved that opportunity that he gave me to fully serve in the secretary role. That was a great experience for me, and it made me want to do more, and I look forward to working with a new chair and being able to do those things. So I wanted to just say a couple things. I was at a Lincoln Day lunch in Weber County, and Thomas Wright spoke. And he said something that was really actually kind of made us all laugh, but he was very serious. He said, "Don't you remember the day, and don't you wish all we were arguing about was automatic delegates?" What a great comment, because that was a huge issue. It divided us so much, but SB 54 has divided us even more. I'm of the same mind as how I understood the other candidates that spoke tonight. I am not in favor of SB 54, but we have to live with it at this point in time. So therefore, everyone has the same solution: strengthen the caucus process. And I like to call it the convention process, because most people know what a convention is, but in order to have a convention, you have to have delegates. In order to get delegates, you have to have a caucus. So it's easy if we explain it that way. One of the things that I saw that we missed this last 2 years is the opportunity to afford a political director. While many people lay the blame at our party chair for losing races, I'm going to say we didn't have the funds to be able to hire a professional political director. And had we had that, we would have been able much better to help with Salt Lake County and to make sure we won that seat. Now, I had some solutions in my mind how to win that seat back in District 4, and I tried to do things. I know Kara was out there and working. I was a poll watcher on the day, trying to make sure our votes were there. And was that my time? Oh, okay. Trying to make sure we had the votes, trying to make sure everybody got to the polls. I was running around that day as a poll watcher for real love. So I worked hard on campaigns as well behind the scenes. But let's talk a second about the role of the secretary. So the role of the secretary is not the chair. It's not to be the spokesperson. It's not to set the policy. It is to be the support of the Central Committee and the Executive Committee and of the other officers. It's most definitely that. I want to go back. I just saw my note here. Communications director. So we have not had the privilege, like we used to have, a really excellent communications director. We've not had that ability to have that as well this last 2 years. So I think that the great funding that I anticipate is going to come our way on May 5th, that we're going to start getting some more funding, and I anticipate that any one of these chair candidates is going to hire professionals back into our office so that we can do the tasks at which we need to do, and our mission is to elect Republican candidates. I'm going to answer that one question. Platform first, candidates second. They do go together, but you have to have the platform first. I want to talk about the minutes. So I tend to do more detailed minutes, and some people like it, some don't. but I've provided also summaries. So I've kind of scaled back the minutes as we've gone to see how the body, how they like it. So that's really the duty of the secretary. There's so much more than that, but I didn't really jot my notes down for that. So we'll do that. The secretary also does the maintaining of the Constitution and bylaws. So if there's any change, they amend the document and then they get it sent forward to the chair and the chair submits. That's the process that we have. So that is my time, but I guess I have a couple questions. Thank you.
Question number 1. What is your current attendance record and why are you best qualified?
Well, my attendance record is 100%, so whoever threw me that softball, thank you. 100% to all the meetings that I've been noticed of and the ones that I'm aware of that have happened. So ever since 2007, when I was first elected to the State Central Committee, it's very important that all members of the State Central Committee show. It's important because those who show up make the rules, just like those who show, they get to elect who wins. So that is super important. And the other question was, what? Oh, by the way, I've been in the party since 1993 and have 100% attendance to all my county meetings as well.
Why are you best qualified?
Well, I am the party secretary at this point, and I have legal training, not legal training. I went to school, business manager, my emphasis was executive secretarial. Now that's a lifetime ago that happened. But I've also we have a business and I've been running our business, and I have a degree in political science and a minor in constitutional studies, and then my business management degree as well. And just the practice ability that I've done this, and I'm ready to go. There's no training that has to happen. I forgot, I'm also a member of the National Association of Parliamentarians, and so that has given me a lot of training. And I'm going to be testing for a registered parliamentarian, which is the second highest level coming up. That should be more in the September timeframe.
How do you view your position's ability to unify the party, and why is it important for accurate minutes?
Well, the record of the party is very essential, so we know what's happened. The historical knowledge that I have from actually doing the minutes, and no one knows those meetings better than I do, honestly. Sorry, chair candidates. But because I listen to them, I record all meetings, I listen to them, and I actually had somebody contest my minutes one time, like their second meeting, which had been my first set of minutes this last time, and they felt like I'd left something out, a few things out, and the body decided to get a transcript. So I paid $600 for that transcript, but I felt like my reputation was really worth that $600, and no one contested one single thing on the minutes after they got a transcript and recording. I gave them recordings already. So it's essential to have accurate minutes so we know what's happened. Knowing what the party's already been through helps you to know what to navigate away from and where to say, hey, we already had this debate. Let me tell you what was said. And I think that's very important.
Who is responsible for sending notices and information to delegates and other party members?
Well, the Constitution says that the Secretary shall provide notice. What was the other stuff you said?
Information to delegates and other party.
Information to delegates. So there's a fine line on the information to the delegates. So the Secretary is supposed to do that. However, there's one section when it comes to the organizing convention that it says, quote, state party. So there's a little bit of disagreement in that area. I'm not taking a position on it, that's up to the State Central Committee, but I will say that the State Central Committee did, for whoever is the Secretary in the future, did do an interpretation of our bylaws and did say the Secretary is supposed to send all of those notices. But as a candidate, I'm not worried about it right now.
What do you have to offer the GOP as Secretary? What is your best favorite accomplishment? What do you have to offer the GOP as Secretary?
So I have continued service. That would be my best, and my ability to know the historic and the institutional knowledge. It's hard to replace somebody that's been involved in the party for 23 years and actually, I'm sorry, it's 27 years, and has a solid understanding of what's happened. I think it's really essential, and I think it'll be a great gift to the new officers as well. That some of them have been involved that long as well, but it really, coming from a large county, I can look and see how we've done things. I can see the state, how we've done it on the state level, and I can offer suggestions to the chair. But let me just tell you, the role of the secretary really isn't the policy person. I'll just tell you a quick little situation. One time in an executive committee meeting, Chairman Evans, questions were being asked of Chairman Evans, and he was sitting there trying to think, well, I know this is in the bylaws somewhere, where is it? And while he was thinking that, I had a copy of the bylaws because I carry them with me, and I just pulled out the page, circled the area, and as he was speaking and trying to answer those questions directly, I just slid it across to him, so he had it right there, and then he just picked up, okay, so bylaw 1.5 says this. You know, that's how we can serve. That's how the secretary can serve. I know where all the items are in those documents. I maintain them. Did I answer? How can I be? I think I got it all there. Do you guys think I did?
Favorite accomplishment.
My best favorite accomplishment would probably, oh, let me think about this one. You know, I try not to really maximize everything the secretary does. Probably the quiet behind-the-scene work, which would mean doing minutes. Would probably, is it the favorite thing? No, they take hours and days, minutes do. But probably a solid set of minutes that you can go to. Like new members came on the Central Committee. I sent them the minutes. If they were able to read through the minutes and know and be able to pick right up right where they're at and have an idea what's happened in this committee and what we passed. That's probably my accomplishment.
Thank you.
I'm going to say some things tonight that some of you people are not going to like. Are you ready?
Yes.
I've been around the racetrack a couple of times. And I want to tell you a story. Number one, I was born in Cedar City, Utah. Spent a lot of time in Salt Lake County, Iron County, Washington County, and Weber County. My wife was born in Weber County, so we're like natives here. And at one time, I was the chairman of the Weber County Republican Party. And I'm going to tell you this story, probably at my risk. Richard Green and the outgoing chairman and one of the state senators who'd just been elected, had been a county commissioner, Peterson, I think, came to me and asked me to run. At the time, I was the business administrator for the Morgan School District. I said, I will only run if I'm not, there's no opposition. There won't be any opposition, I said. There was a former county commissioner nominated against me from the floor at the convention. I said, well, I don't have to worry about that anymore. But after they were counted the votes, Richard Green, who was the county clerk recorder at the time, and de facto secretary, I think he was the secretary of the party, came to me and said, you won big, and we're going to punish those people that worked against you. I said, no, Richard, that's not the way it's done. We drew everybody together, worked together, solved the problems, and Jim Hansen, who was running for his second term, came to me and said, Lane, Weber County is a Democratic county. He was running against Gunn McKay. Do you remember Gunn McKay? All of you are probably too young to remember that. Jim Hansen said to me, if I get 45% of the vote in Weber County, because I have other counties that are more Republican, I can win. And I said, Jim, you're going to get 50%. And he said, Lane, if I get 50%, I'll buy you and your wife the best dinner that you've ever had. He got 12 votes less than 50%. I thought, man, I'm going to have a big dinner here. He called me and he said, Lane, I guess I owe you lunch. My introduction to politics. I'm running because I don't have anything else to do. I'm even going to volunteer for nothing to be a full-time, along with being the vice chair, executive director for the state party. We're going to train everybody to do what we need to do. Now let me tell you one other experience about my capabilities. I handed out my rap sheet. That tells you about me, what I can do and what I have done. When I was working in California, I was working with the developmentally disabled, Porterville Shelter Workshop. We worked with the developmentally disabled. Their budget when I got there was about $7 million. They had 350 employees, overspending the revenues. It was a not-for-profit corporation. They were overspending the revenues by $100,000 a month, roughly. They were $250,000 in debt for the year. And I went to the executive director and I said, "Why didn't you tell me this?" And he said, "That's why you're here." And we worked together, and 10 years later, they had no debt. Now, this is a not-for-profit corporation. $5 million cash in the bank. In the last 3 years I was there, we gave a Christmas adjustment at Thanksgiving time. The first of the last 3 years of 11% of the salary schedule. And $1,100 to every employee. The second to last year, there was a 14% adjustment and $1,300 to every employee. The last year it was 16% and $1,600. We had no debt and $5 million cash in the bank, and that's a not-for-profit corporation. That's what I do, solve problems. And I can guarantee you, if you elect me, do you know how many state delegates there are in Weber County?
288.
288. Do you know how many are here tonight? Less than 60. I can guarantee you, if you elect me, I'll work with whoever the chair is, and there'll be at least 200 at the next meeting like this. I can guarantee you that, and this is why. I was elected to serve on the California Rehabilitation Association Board of Directors. 700 corporations throughout California, serving the developmentally disabled. I was on their board. And then they elected me to be on the board of directors of the corporation that provided all the insurance and workers' comp for all those corporations. And when I first got on that board, the meetings were 3 or 4 hours long. Then they elected me chairman. Guess how long they were there? 30 minutes, and we got more done. Now, one other thing, and then I'm going to shut up. It's not what you've been that's important, or what you've said that's important. It's what you've done that's important. Thank you very much.
It's good to be here tonight. I apologize, I'm looking at my phone. Our county elections are going on in Morgan, and I just want to keep tabs, encourage people who are running, tell them good luck. So I'll give you a brief introduction. My name is Kara Berkland. I have been married for almost 18 years. My husband and I, we have 6 kids. I am a part-time preschool teacher, and I officiate high school basketball as well, part-time. Until just recently, we were also foster parents. My husband and I have a great hope for our future. That's also why I serve as the vice chair and hope to continue to serve as the vice chair of the party. I want to ensure that our party and our nation and our state have a great future, and we've got to focus on our youth. I want to ask a question. If you were going to run for office, be it a party position or a commission, House, Senate, whatever, raise your hand if you feel like you have the tools to do that right now. Or you would know how, where to begin. Good, good. Okay, this to me is a problem within the Republican Party. I went around as vice chair and talked to a lot of candidates who were running for positions, whether it was House or their commission race or whatever. And the majority of those that I met with, and I dare say of the Republicans who were running for positions within our state, 50% of them were getting trained by the Democratic Party. They were the only people doing any kind of training. They'd come, I'd sit down with them and say, okay, what do you need? How can we help you as a state party? We'll work with your county party. If they're overlapping, bring county parties together. And they're like, well, this group or that group or this group. And they were all Democratic organizations who had brought them in, who had trained them, who were giving them messaging advice. And that to me is a big concern. We wonder why there's socialism. All of our messaging lately has been less Republican, not about our platform, and more about the Democratic Party values. That's a problem to me. As vice chair, I am passionate that my job is to help facilitate the chair, who will hopefully find it to be in his job description to reach out to your county parties, to give the county parties the tools and the training that they need so that they can come and help and serve you. And then if there's a lapse in that somehow, somewhere, that's when the state party can come in and say, hey, let's sit down, let's talk about the messaging. Let's make sure that everybody in our state knows that you're the Republican Party candidate and that you believe in limited taxes, lower government involvement, and traditional family values. Those are the messages that we aren't getting out as Republicans, and that's a concern to me, and that's something that I have worked hard to do and will continue to work hard to do as vice chair. You know, bringing in new Republicans, it's going to happen by showing them our work of promoting them and helping them, and giving them the confidence that, hey, this is not just you sitting at home just voting for someone apathetically. This is you understanding the party, the platform, and wanting to vote for them because you have a stake in it now. We've brought you in, we've encouraged you, we've helped you, we've made you feel like you're part of our party. How many Republicans, when you're not at a party event, really feel like you're part of an organization? Do you feel like you have a stake in it? If you're not a delegate particularly, do you have a stake in what happens in the party? You should, but do you feel that way? And that's a disconnect for a lot of people, and we've got to work on that. That's our outreach. Getting to your neighborhoods, doing volunteer work. We went up to Primary Children's Hospital as party members, and we invited Salt Lake County Party to come as well, and served dinner. And we did another event making bags for the kids who go to the homeless shelter for lunch. You know, letting them know that we're not just here on election day. We're not just here when we need you to show up with a vote. We're here for you because our party stands for certain things, and we're going to promote that year-round, whether it's an election cycle or not. That matters to me. We've got a lot of work to do, and I hope to have your vote so we can continue to do this good work. Thank you, guys.
Support the party. And I will support the chair, whoever that is, when they support the party. It's that simple.
That's a great response. It is all our responsibility to support and help the chair. As vice chair, I have felt like my job is to support the chair when he's doing things that are good, when he's doing things that are positive, and even support some of his ideas as long as they're good, honest, ethical things. Get behind him, support him. It's not about my agenda all the time. Sometimes it has to be about his goals and supporting that opportunity for him to focus on the things that matter to him, because that's who the body elected to lead the party. And honestly, as vice chair, the one thing it says in the bylaws about our job is to support the chair. That's actually, the secretary's got a lot of roles, the treasurer's got a lot of things, the chair has a long list. Vice chair, it says support the chair. So it's pretty simple.
What do you see as the main function of the vice chair?
Control the vice. It's the responsibility of all the officers to work the hardest they can to elect Republicans, real Republicans, and to bring those in that we maybe think a little differently than we do. Not be nasty to them, but help them and work with them and love them and bring them in like I did when I was in Weber County. It's just, I'm an identical twin. When I was a little kid, my mother said to us, "I'm sick and tired of you kids fighting all the time." Well, I'm sick and damn tired of the way we're fighting all the time. And I bring people together. I worked in television for a while. I've worked in a lot of areas. I know how to communicate. I know how to solve problems. I know how to bring people together. Thank you.
And Layton's a really great guy, so that's very, very true about Layton. I've known him for a lot of years, so I can't say anything but great things about Layton. So as serving as vice chair, I have found one of the bigger responsibilities that I've seen come up is working more as a liaison between the county parties and the chair. You know, if there's questions, if there's maybe a little bit of contention, my job is to come in and try to bridge that gap. Bring them together, sit down, kind of mediate some of the problems that might be going on as a neutral member of the party and help get them back on track. Another thing I do is, you know, the chair's out there, he's a spokesperson, he's everywhere he's got to be. As vice chair, I found myself putting together all of the behind-the-scenes stuff. We had to get out the vote drive for me a lot. That was my job, was what he tasked me with, and so I've got to be able to know how to do that and get the campaigns that were in Mia's district all on the same page. So we don't have Mia going and knocking on the door, and then you have, you know, maybe the guy going for sheriff knocking on the same door. We had to organize all of that kind of stuff. And that's really what, as vice chair, it's mostly behind the scenes, getting things organized and getting things done so that the chair, when he shows up, it's done, it's organized, and he's ready to start doing the talking, being the figurehead of the party.
There is great diversity between the styles, beliefs, and visions of the chair candidates. How will you reconcile your style and beliefs with each of them? And ultimately, who will you work with as chair? Can you support a chair you don't support?
I guess I'm not as smart as I thought I was. How do I support a chair I don't support? I don't know, but whoever's the chair, I will support as they work to elect Republicans.
So one thing I probably do that isn't very popular is I speak very bluntly and very honestly. So I want to tell you guys, when I was elected vice chair by the SCC in May, I didn't know the Andersons very well. I didn't think I had the same style as our current chairman. We didn't always have the most cordial of discussions leading up to me being vice chair. But right after being elected, I went to my meeting with our current chairman, and we sat down, and we worked out our issues. We talked about things. We talked about how we can help the party. All of us, every one of us, could probably find someone in this room that we disagree with sometimes. You don't agree, I don't even agree with my husband on probably half the things that come across us as a household. But you have a commonality, and our common goal is to strengthen and promote the Republican Party and to make sure we have quality Republicans elected to office. And when you work with that common goal, as you do in a business or family environment, none of the rest of that, none of your personal issues matter anymore. I have a great friendship now with the Andersons. We've had them over for dinner, we've gone out and spent time with them because we have to focus on the main objectives. And I feel like that's something that we could all do as party members, is stop finding the petty things that we don't like about each other, because there's probably going to be 20 that if you get to know me, you won't like about me right off the bat. But if we focus on the things that we do like about each other, we can work with anyone. I have no issues with any of our chair candidates. I don't know one of them as well. I've not met Sylvia. So I've got nothing but positive things to say about all of them. And I look forward to it. It's like Lisa. I mean, this is fantastic. I don't think we can go wrong with any of our chair candidates, so I appreciate that.
What will you do to support the State Central Committee and deal with factions?
Factions or fractions? I'm going to tell you my feelings on the State Central Committee and on the conventions. And some of you are not going to like it. I think we waste too much time in meetings. And I've said a little bit about that before. And I can help bring those to people. And there would be more people here tonight as there were in every single meeting I've been to, county convention, if the meetings were not as long as they are. That's a fact. I've talked to a lot of people, and they just don't want to spend that much time. I mean, let me give you an example. Maybe I misunderstood, but I was notified about this meeting would start at 7 o'clock, or maybe 6, and end at 8. Now I have 3 appointments tonight after 8 o'clock. I'm going to miss all of them. We need better communication. Whatever it's going to be, we need to help the people understand what it's going to be. And then if it's supposed to end at 8 o'clock, it needs to end at 8 o'clock. And it needs to be conducted during that period of time adequately so the job gets done, but also so the message gets done and we don't waste people's time.
I'm all for shorter meetings. I don't think anybody's going to say, no, make that meeting longer. I want to be here a little bit longer, so I love that. So since I got on the SDC and then became vice chair by them, I've had a lot of meetings with our chairman and some differing fractions within the party. Again, that's, I feel like, a role that I've taken on as liaison. You've got an issue, we've got a problem, let's sit down and meet. I'm a basketball official. I do high school basketball games. So when there's an issue on the court and the coach doesn't like something and he's yelling and screaming at my partner, sometimes we have to throw him out. Sometimes it gets a little heated, you tee him up, he's gone, he's ejected. Then you have to write a report, and sometimes you even have to go back to the UHSSA. And we all have to sit down. Isn't that how it works typically in the professional world? You have to then sit down and work through the issue that you just had, right? That's what I have to do as a basketball official. That's what I feel like we're missing out on a little bit in the party. So there was a fraction, so there was a disagreement, there's a problem. Let's just resolve it. Can't we just sit down, talk about what the rule says, come to agreement on the rules of our party? That's why the bylaws are there, to tell us how to govern, how to act on things. Once we establish that, even if we don't like the rules, at least we can then work from there. And that's something that I've really tried to do and will continue to try to do when there's an issue, to work them out. Let's sit down, look at our documents that are here to govern us, and just move on.
And last but not least, what are the duties of the vice chair and what are your priorities should you get elected?
The duties of the vice chair are to help the chair and the other officers on the state and local level win elections. I talked to one of the candidates tonight for chair, who shall remain nameless, and talked a little bit about some ideas that I have. And I have an idea that has been working in my mind, that we can raise about $1.5 million. We've already got it halfway underway. And one of the things we need is money. Money really helps. And we need to work together. We need to not beat up on anybody. We need to work together. We need to raise funds. And I'll tell you a little bit about the fundraiser I'm organizing, if you won't tell anybody. Promise you won't tell anybody? It involves a young little singing group from Ogden, Utah. What can I say? I have some other ideas that will really help. Thank you.
So based on our bylaws right now, the vice chair assists the chair. So what are responsibilities, anything the chair asks you to do. For me, it was help with the get out the vote drive for Me a Love. It was outreach for some of the minorities within the party. It's having trainings and meeting with the candidates across the state and seeing how the party can help them. It's attending our SEC meetings and our executive committee meetings. It's anything that we're asked to do and anything that grows and strengthens the party. That's our job and our role as vice chair. Was there a second part of that question? No? Okay, that's it. Oh, my priorities. Yes, my priorities are, I want to strengthen our college and teenage Republicans. I actually had a sit down with the college Republicans last week. And did you know they only had 20 Republicans in college who showed up to their last convention? Their big main state convention, 20 college Republicans showed up. The Republican Party chair said, if we don't do something now, we won't even have a convention. You will not see Republican kids on college campuses, even in Utah. It's getting so bad. A lot of the candidates, a lot of the Republicans are actually afraid right now. Literally afraid. A lot of them, particularly at University of Utah, maybe are part of frat houses or fraternities, and they have been told straight up, you're either a Republican or you're in our homes. If you're a Republican, you can't stay in our fraternity house. Sorry. And that is a challenge. They need our help. They need to know, that's fine, we will work with you, we're here for you. The Republican Party is more than just your vote on election day, it's who we are, our value system. And so we're here for you. And that is probably priority number 1 for me.